Very good evening, students. And this time I am going to address you so far the royalty accounts are concerned. Now, one thing I am seeing that, dear students, you are not actually viewing the videos which I have already uploaded in PK Shikdar Advanced Learning, Punam Kumar Shikdar, and PK Shikdar and Shikdar Punam Kumar YouTubes. So I would request students to view it, like it, and share it. Now I'm just starting with royalties. The following are the cases where one party pay to another in the form of royalty. Number one, where the owner of a mine allows another the right to extract minerals from land. Number two, where right such as patents or copyrights are licensed in favor of another. And number three, where an author, artist, or designer gives exclusive rights to another to copy the work. Now, firstly, accounts are actually being maintained in the books of the lessee. Lessee means the person who has taken the lease, and also in the books of the landlord. At the first instance, I'm just highlighting accounting entries in the books of the lessee, where a minimum rent exists with right to recoup short workings. Minimum rent is nothing but is the date rent or the minimum amount that the lessee has to pay to the landlord. And short working means when royalty payable is less than the minimum rent, the difference is called short workings. Now, where the actual royalty is less than the minimum rent, the entry is royalty payable account debit, short working account debit to landlord. Royalties will be debited with actual royalties for the period, short working, that is minimum rent minus actual royalties, and landlord account will be credited with minimum rent. The next entry is landlord account debit with the minimum rent, to bank account the amount paid, to income tax payable account tax deducted at source, and number three, manufacturing or profit and loss account debit to royalties payable account. So actual royalties for the period transferred to manufacturing or profit and loss account. If the user is a manufacturer and royalties are calculated on the basis of production, the actual royalties are debited to manufacturing account. Where royalties are calculated on the basis of sales, they are debited to profit and loss account. In case of a limited company which does not prepare manufacturing account separately, the actual royalties are debited to profit and loss account, and they are shown in production or manufacturing section of the profit and loss account. Now I am discussing treatment of short workings. As per agreed terms, short workings can be recouped in the year when the actual royalty is more than the minimum rent. Any short workings which cannot be recouped within the specified period becomes irrecoverable, and it should be charged to profit and loss account in the year in which the period ends. However, the recoupable short working should be carried forward, and they are shown in the balance sheet as a current asset. The relationship between minimum rent, actual royalty, and royalty payable are shown as under. Minimum rent is equal to actual royalties plus short workings. Now, in the books of the lessee or lessee, you are going to pass in a different form the journal entries. That is where the royalty is more than the minimum rent. Then royalties payable account debit to landlord account, actual royalties for the period. Landlord account debit to short workings account, that is short workings if any recouped. Landlord account debit to bank account to income tax payable account. Profit and loss account debit to short working account, short workings which cannot be recouped. And lastly, manufacturing or profit and loss account debit to royalties payable account. Now here I am going to mention certain important points that are to be noted. Number one, when the royalty agreement does not contain a clause for minimum rent, the question of short workings and its recoupment does not arise. The landlord is always entitled to get either the minimum rent or the actual royalty, whichever is higher, subject to any adjustment for short workings recouped. Now I am going to discuss the accounting entries in the books of the landlord or lessor, where a minimum rent exists with right to recoup short workings. And in this scenario, where the actual royalty is less than the minimum rent, then lessee account debit with the amount of minimum rent to royalty receivable account, that is actual royalties for the period, to royalty suspense account or short working allowable account. Mind the terms. Royalty receivable, sorry, royalty suspense account or short working allowable account, that is shortfall in royalties. Then bank account debit, net amount paid, tax deducted at source account debit, tax deducted at source to lessee account, that is minimum rent. Next entry is royalty receivable account debit to profit and loss account for the transfer of royalty receivable account. Now again I am discussing another scenario when the actual royalty is more than the minimum rent. Then royalty suspense account debit or short working allowable account debit to lessee account, that is for recoupment of short workings if any. Bank account debit, net amount paid, tax deducted at source debit, tax deducted at source to lessee account. Next entry, royalties receivable account debit to profit and loss account for transfer. Then royalty suspense account debit or short working allowable account debit to profit and loss account, that is short workings which cannot be recouped. Now in an examination problem, there might be a problem relating to sublease. In some cases, the lessee transfers a part to its right of lease to another party to complete the work under lease with terms and conditions as agreed between himself and that party. In these cases, there are three parties, namely landlord, lessee, and sublessee. So, for accounting entries are concerned, the status of lessee with the sublease is just like a landlord. Then accounting entries in the books of the landlord, same as I have said, payment to landlord will depend on the total production or sales made by lessee as well as sublessee. In the books of the lessee, in his books, both royalty payable and royalty receivable account to be opened. Since he has two status, he has to maintain, if any, both short workings and royalty suspense account. And in the books of the sublessee, in this case, the entry will be from the viewpoint of lessee in normal cases, as I have explained earlier. Now, my dear students, please refer to your study materials and look into the royalty chart, how it is prepared with columnar form. And if you look into the chart, you will be in a position to understand how many columns you are required to maintain for royalty receivable and for royalty payable, and practice yourself taking into consideration the concepts that I have said in this video. That is all about. I'll be returning back. Goodbye.